I had a series where I talked about the major issues or problems I had with different note-taking and productivity applications, and I have covered some of my favorite ones, like Tooth, for example, and a couple of others. Now I'm continuing this series with Tana, and Tana, just like every other note-taking app, has its issues, and I am not talking about the issues that is because the whole application is negative and you shouldn't actually use the application. I am trying to highlight some of the issues you might have in different note-taking applications because no application is perfect. All of them have different issues, and it is great to be aware of those issues before you commit fully to an application. Like the applications I'm using myself as well have issues and have major problems that or things that I dislike, but I have figured out that every application has something you will dislike about it, and that's what I am going to try to highlight inside of this series. And this time it is Tana, and as usual, these are just some of my personal opinions from testing out and using a lot of different productivity apps around the issues I have with these applications. The first and probably the most easy one to see is the pricing. It costs you $14 each month billed yearly or $18 billed monthly. I could go for the yearly plan, but it is a huge investment in advance, which makes this video even more important to highlight some of the flaws that this application might have. But it will actually cost you $14 each month if you bill yearly and $18 each month if you bill monthly. Especially this one is really expensive compared to a lot of the other applications. So just as an example, I use my mind and I pay for the mastermind plan, which costs me $12.99 each month, which is a fairly expensive price to pay for a note-taking app. But or just like Tana and My Mind, it might be worth it to some people. Like My Mind is, in my case, it is worth paying $12 a month for, but I still think that it is really expensive, and it is hard to justify this price even with 5,000 AI credits each month. I still think that it is worth it, like in general, given everything you get, and that this application is really, really good. But there are a couple of things that have been annoying me with the pricing. First of all, is the fact that the application is still in closed beta stage and it costs you $18 each month or 14. Uh, on the other hand, I have put up an argument against myself, and I have landed on the fact that it doesn't matter that it is in closed beta because the application is so stable. But I would like to see a mobile app, and they have promised one coming quite soon. So I have made a video talking about the fact that in the end, after going back and forward with myself, I think that it is worth it. The pricing, you are getting what you pay for and probably a little bit more as well. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is expensive. Just because something is worth the money doesn't necessarily mean that I am willing to pay for it. So that is the first thing that you need to keep in the back of your mind if you are going for something like Tana is the pricing. They have a free plan, but you get 3 shared workspaces, 0.5 megabytes file storage. I'm gigabytes, sorry. I'm wondering why they're not just writing 500 megabytes, but uh, that's for another video. Uh, so I would say that you probably need to end up going for this in the end, the Tana Core plan, which is their paid plan. They offer a free trial on this, and the main selling point of this is the AI, which is why I think it is worth it in the end. So that's like the first major concern is the pricing. But the second like major concern, which is even worse, is the fact that it is really hard to learn an application like this. So just let me show you an example with a to-do. Let's do a test and we do hashtag to-do. So these are called super tags inside of Tana. And this is what you actually use to in order to create databases. You use these super tags, but configuring these super tags can actually be a lot of work. Now you have AI commands as well. I haven't actually tested out these, but you have like content template here. And as you can see, it isn't that easy to understand what you're actually going to do inside of here. So you can add like default content into this. You can have optional fields, you can have checkboxes, and you can have base types. So it isn't really easy to like do this from scratch. Like the only easy part of this is adding a description and changing the color. That's like really easy. That is something I could do like out of the box, but uh, in order for me, and I actually had to do this, but in order for me to understand how I'm going to configure these and what actually configuring super tags means, I had to watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I'm guessing that this will be something that a lot of people will end up having to do as well, watching a lot of different YouTube videos on the subject in order to figure out how everything works. So it is really hard to learn. They have made it a little bit easier, like it was much harder to create a database using search nodes. But now it is much easier to search for different nodes and turn them into a table like this. It has gotten a lot easier, but I still think that it is really hard to get everything working. So I talked about like configuring super tags and the things, the default like content you could put into here. I have author and type of resource here, as you can see. So that is basically how it works, but you will need to like at least spend a couple of hours to figure out how this works, and it might even feel a little weird at the start, but that is how like object-based note-taking will feel for most people. But in general, I feel like they need a really good onboarding, which they don't have right now. Um, the onboarding just isn't good enough. I don't understand how or it took me a while to understand how I'm actually going to put different things together. And also, like, just figuring out all of the ins and outs. Like I've said in my previous video, you can have the best features in the world, but if no one knows how to use it, it isn't worth that much. And that is the major issue I have with Tana, is that it can take way too long to learn the application. So a better onboarding is probably the most important thing they can do together with a mobile application. But because the pricing can be justified in some ways, I still think that people are willing to pay $18 each month for something like this. But not being able to attract, like, I call it normal users, but people who are not really into personal knowledge management, and being able to attract them, in order to do that, you actually have to make the application a lot easier to use. So that was the things that annoys me with Tana, or not necessarily annoys me, but the huge issues I see that Tana have. If you have other issues, please do comment them down below. And if you have any questions, do comment them down below as well. And I hope to see you again quite soon.